My wife that, oh, those deer, they're going to eat. Ooh. There it went. Good morning, I'm here at the 4960. If you're from Europe or England or wherever, 4960 was a model that never came to you, even though this tractor came from Germany. This tractor is technically a 4955, but it's a 4960 here in the United States. So when I bought it, it said 4955, but it's a 4960 here. This is like a 92 or a 93 model, and 92, 93, or 94. I can't remember what it is now because it's been so long ago since I bought the thing. I bought this in 2003. Oh, somebody just caused my machine to trip. So if you were to look at the serial number on there, it would say 4955. But, you know, I'm the kind of guy that wants it to be correct for the U.S. market here, which is a 4960. But anyways, enough of that being said, what I'm going to do, or what I'm working on here, is this. These years ago, when you had the 40, the 30 series, well, you can even go to the 20 series. 20 series had a single boot, a little rubber boot that you put on there. The 30 series had a T. The 40 series, I still believe, had the T, but the 55 and the 60 series had those. Well, it's a T, but it's not the right kind of T. It's a brass T, and it takes little bitty O-rings. Well, over time, heat and distortion, those things wear out. So what I have here is a quality equipment. This came out of North Carolina back probably in 2019 or 2020. I paid $375 or $378 for this thing, and it contains a total of 78 total part numbers. And inside here, fortunately, are the little rings. Well, they're here somewhere, so I don't think it's that. Well, maybe it's these. It's these right here. So these are the little rings, those little rings right there. So they go in over the tube, and then you just squish them down. Those rings are neoprene rings. So what I need to do is go and they're for the injector return line. So as fuel goes to, there's pressure to the fuel injector. It pumps fuel into the injector opens up and squirts fuel in there, and then the overflow of fuel comes back out and then returns to the tank. So that's what those seals are for. Now, pretty sure they're 9/16, 5/8, and 1/2 inch are usually the wrenches that I would grab if I was going to be doing that job, so I grab all three. I've got my little cart here. I bought this cart a few years ago and didn't really utilize it the way it was supposed to be utilized, but we're using it now. And I'm going to go ahead, and I can't show you, but you're going to look at my ugly mug as I'm going to put on my blue gloves. A lot of times what will happen, and what you want to do is just disconnect that wire so it's out of your way. When you mess with that one, then this one will leak. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and take this one apart, and I'm going to replace the one here as well. So it's one, two of them, or three of those little rings. And I should buy more of them. And somebody's coming in, and it doesn't sound like Grant because he's not pedal to the metal. It's Dad. So let me talk to Dad. Let's see, did it kick on? Are we kicked on? We kicked on? Yes, we are. All right, so you didn't get to see anything. My dad showed up, and I took it apart, and now the tractor's running. I pulled it apart, and the O-rings were perfectly fine. And I didn't have the right ones. I had thin ones, or I need thicker ones. So I'm just going to spin you around here. See, I cleaned it off with starting fluid. Cleaned it off with starting fluid, and there's no leak now. So I think I got it. Done with that in. Kind of weird. All right, so here we go. Ever mess with a gauge wheel? A lot of people don't. I see piles of these things in places. We just mess with them. And, you know, it's not hard. It's not as hard as it used to be, let's put it that way. I was just talking to Grant about when I was a kid, and Uncle Irv was the guy that did the replacement of gauge wheel bearings for the 7,000 conservation till corn planter that we had, brand new. What we had before that was Alice Chalmers. We had an Alice Chalmers corn planter and an Alice Chalmers bean planter. And they were both no-till. I think they were both no-till. I don't know. I was young. And we traded them off on 2 John Deere pieces of equipment. A 7,000 and an 8100 John Deere drill. So there's still plates for those old Alice Chalmers floating around here someplace. Yeah, to me, they're worthless. But these plastic plates, I don't know. I'm sure I can find them. Actually, I think they're up in the wagon house now. But anyhow, I do remember when I was young, my Uncle Irv it was his job to do this. He used to work for us. He worked at the paper mill Gilbert Generating Station up here in Holland Township. Worked there for like 38 years or something. And he was a valveman. That's what he did. So what he did was when they needed water someplace in the mill or in the power plant, his job was to turn a valve. And I thought, well, that's not a very glorifying job. I imagine today the valveman has been replaced with a computer guy who just says, oh, I need XYZ water coming up, and they do it. But way back, that's what he did. That's what he spent his career doing. Anyway, his job was to change out bearings in these wheels. And I remember it being such a difficult job. And today, it's like, it's no big deal to do. You just saw me take my impact wrench. Well, he had this, and he had an air impact wrench here, or he used a ratchet, depended on what he was doing. And I remember when he got them that they could separate, he was doing what Grant did earlier, which was take a tire iron and try to force it in between there. And the reality is, you don't need to do that at all. You do this. You chuck it on the ground and inertia takes over. And that's it. It's inertia. Then you could take a screwdriver here and you can wedge that in, because they would be stuck to the bearing. And that's it. Stuck to the bearing. But, yeah. And there you go. That's how you get them apart. Just chuck them on the ground. And, you know, it's a really pretty simple process. Doesn't take rocket science or anything special to figure that out. But when I was young and we had been, my family had used Alice Chalmers all those years, I don't imagine that it was, I can hardly imagine that it was a, you know, something that they did very often, of course, because one, we didn't farm thousands of acres. They farmed a couple of hundred. And the other thing is there's guide holes here. See these 2 holes, this one and this one? The ones that are kind of out of place there? Well, they're guide holes. And what you do is you line those up. Now, I remember he made a jig that you would slide the whole thing onto, which to me, at that time, was brilliant. But the reality is, it's unnecessary, because once you line those holes up, you can take a centering punch like this, and you go to the outer one and you kind of wobble it around or whatever. Make sure they line up. And you just take your bolts and your nuts and whatever, and you stick them in there. Well, if you don't know, these things take a smaller bolt. It's really short. It's a 5/16, right? not a 1/4 inch, it's a 5/16 by like 3/4. And it's the same as a 5/16 bin bolt. That's what we use when we need to replace them. You know, the bolts get bad, rusted, rotted, or whatever, and you just take a bin bolt, you stick it in there. Well, the bin bolt sticks out pretty far, and when you have a bin bolt that's sticking out like that, it catches stuff, and then it, like mud, dirt, grasses if you're no-tilling and stuff like that. Then you got problems like, oh crap, why is it I can't, it's building everything up. So what a pain in the neck that is. And I will show you, because for some reason I have misplaced one of the bolts. What you do when you need to replace one, and how you make a 3/4 inch bolt, 5/16 by 3/4 inch. Here, let me tighten these all up, and then I will, well, I won't. I'll get a bolt. That's all. I like using bin bolts because they're flanged, and you don't have to have anything really special other than it's got to fit, you know. So you see how long that is? Super long. Oh. Well, now that I've said I was going to do it, I'm going to go ahead and stick it through the guide hole, okay? Because I know damn well that it, I already put the one in. I wasn't missing it. I had already done it. Duh. But I'll show you anyway. Just because I said I would. What I do with the damn wrench? In my pocket? No. With this wrench, I guess. So you just go along and you tighten the outer ones up first. Now these are a locking nut or a compression nut. And for some reason they just love, oh, there's my wrench. They love to stick on that rust. So we're just going to go ahead and tighten that whole shoot and match up. It doesn't take long to do this, and it's not really difficult, but I remember my Uncle Herb jumping up and down on these halves, trying to get them to squish back down into place. Whereas you saw me put a little bit of oil on the inside of that thing. Well, that stops rust, and it actually, if you take that stuff, it'll slide the halves on very easily. So here's the problem that you will get. Let me pull the camera in close. See how that sucker's sticking out there? Well, this is how you do this. Take an adjustable or a piece of pipe works wonderfully. Put it over the top of it, pull it, push it, and it snaps it off. You have now just converted a bin bolt that is 2 inches long to a perfect 3/4 inch. Tighten it first. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you make a half. Yeah, that's how you put new bearings in 750 grain drill gauge wheels. Now, we replaced 2 of them today on there. One of them, the half itself had worn and it was wobbling, so that's not a good deal. But the other one, the bearing was bad, and I was down to what did we have, the last 4 bearings? The last 4 bearings, and Grant put 1 or 2 of them in. I put the last 3 in, and now if we have a bearing go out on the drill, we're good to go. I just grab one of these halves, and you know, I call them halves, one of these gauge wheels, and off you go. So what happens when these things, you get into rocky areas, you can really mess them up. And they're not really super expensive, but I could probably straighten that out if I felt ambitious, because it's not really that old, but it's all beat up on the inside from bad bearings. The bearing went bad, and this half here, which was good, once the bearing goes out, it just hogs it out, and that's an actual John Deere one. You can get them from Shoops. They're not super expensive, but these are now just chunks of scrap on the scrap heap. Well, there you go. Good morning. I think I've got my Gizmo connected, my microphone. We're gonna do an alfalfa update. So there it is. That's it. Now I do have some weeds out here that need to be tended to. I got the herbicide on order. I'm waiting for the phone call that it's come in. But I do have a little bit of lamb's quarter coming up in here. And we're getting to the point now that lamb's quarter and ragweed. Ooh. So what I'm doing here today is actually working on the machine. I don't really want to show my machines just yet because I have a process that I need to. Oh my God, I'm gonna unplug it. I don't want it to be going off. What I have to do is I have to change the magazine. Every once in a while, you get enough animals coming through here, or wind. Wind will set these things off, right? And the wind, when it sets them off, I think one of these blanks come out of there. Okay, so I got a live one there. I knew I had a live one. I'll have to pick it up. So, anyways, these blanks, they go through them on a windy day, which is fine. I'm learning about these things. I built them. They're mine. I designed them. I built them. Me and Grant and Timothy did the majority of the work. I did all the welding, at least 90% of the welding. And yeah, because there's a lot of welding that goes into these things. The stand. The biggest part of the welding part is the actual firing mechanism for the 22 blanks. It takes a long time to build those things. And if these things actually do exactly what they're doing, they are working. They're working wonderfully. But if they become something that I can sell, which is what I'm ultimately planning on doing, I'm going to have to piece them out so someone else can actually build them, okay? And not build them, but at least, let's see if she comes on now. And I plug this in, it's going to make noise. No? I think it did. So that's the noise that it makes. There's blue lights, and there's a reason for that, over white lights or red lights or green lights. And I mean, I could tell some of the secrets. One of them is that deer do not like blue light. Bugs the shit out of them, like pretty badly. Deer have they have more rods than cones in their eyes, right? I think I've told this story before. More rods than cones in their eyes. And the rods and the cones in their eyes, the more rods, that's so that they can see at night. Cones are for daytime. So if you've got any of the other light in the spectrum, doesn't seem to bother them, but blue light does. So that's why I chose blue light. The horns, well, there's a computer chip that I've put in there, and that makes the horn do its thing. So there's two of those computer chips, one that runs the lights and one that runs the horns. And here, I'll flip this camera around as I come up to this other one. Now, I don't know how many times this one has gone off. As you can see, this is perfect for deer to come in and eat it, this alfalfa. I can't believe how nice it looks, actually. Yeah, this alfalfa looks really, really good. Yeah, it's gone off a few times. So, yeah, I have to change out a few. So let me flip you all around. Get you up here. You can possibly see me do this. I'm just setting you up on top of the solar panel. Yeah, solar panel. I have these things solar. There's a solar. It hasn't gone off much. So I've got these set so that they go off at night. more than anything. You don't really want them to go off in the daytime unless there's an actual animal out here doing its thing. But at nighttime is when you really want to get them off of here, because in the daytime there's a lot of activity that goes on in this area. There's people going up and down the driveway. The road is right there. There's three houses right there. One is my uncle's house. The other two are other than my uncle's house. And they're right there, and then on the other side of the barn there's two other houses where there's people there kind of pretty much all the time. My cousin lives down there, and the tenant in that house. And then behind me, you'll see that there is another house down in the corner, and she cleans houses for a living. That's what she does. And her, she's in and out of here all the time. So the deer are kind of used to that sort of thing, coming in and out of here. But at night, they have free range. They could just come right on in and totally annihilate this stuff. So as you can see, the alfalfa is really looking pretty good. I got a little chickweed in there. Chickweed's a pain in the ass. There's a little bit of rye left over from the cover crop, but I have to use a product called Pursuit. And I'm going to use Pursuit and Prowl on this alfalfa. And I need to have it like now. I need it. I need to have that now. So I'm going to cross over into the next field because I have two machines down there. Two machines down here. And those two machines are, they are, at first they're along that woods there. And they were, at first, were really, active, because the deer would come out there. Well, now they barely go off. Now, if you look at this alfalfa, not quite as good here. Why isn't it quite as good? But it looks really good out there. Well, that's a mystery to me. I planted it at the same time. The alfalfa's here, but this alfalfa did not come from my friend Glenn LeDuc. This came from Rural King. It was a different variety. So let me get the sun in my right position. It was a different variety. So it's growing and it's doing okay. It's just nowhere near as vigorous as the rest of the farm. And why out there it looks so much better, I have no idea. But it's growing. It'll be okay. It's not going to be it's not as thick as what I'd like to see it for, what I put out here. But I think there was a lot more hard seed in this versus the other stuff, because there's a lot of small ones. Here, I can flip it around and show you. They just seem like, you see, there's a lot of smaller bits here. And it's here. It's fine. It's just not as thick as I'd like it to be. I planted it. Why am I missing a machine? No, I'm not missing one. I was going to say, somebody stole my machine. There's two of them. There's one there. There's one out there. And I see no deer tracks. They're not eating it. There's some ragweed here. This is where I really need to get my ass out here with a sprayer and spray this. But you got to be real careful as to what you spray it with, because of the, with the sprayer, I got to clean it out, because I don't want to kill my alfalfa with something stupid like 2,4-D Banville Clarity or anything else. There's a lot of ragweed right here where I'm walking. I'll flip it around. This stuff needs to die. It's just a spot here. There's a terrace here, and for some reason I think all the weed seed came down. But you get over here, and this particular field is, somebody moved that. I didn't have that close, I don't think. Now, let's see if it works, because there's no deer here. It has completely taken them off of here. When I had soybeans on this last year, the year before, I had beans on it for 2 years. The deer ate this whole thing off. This is this damn blue stem, big blue, whatever. Let's see if she wants to work. Does it work? Yep. So it does work. So, okay, we're going to leave that one alone.